administrators and insurance companies. I was a claims adjuster, I was a manager, and then I oversaw entire programs, including the managed care side of stuff. So I know more than a lot of people would hope to know about workers' compensation. Came over to the district in part because I'm married to a firefighter, so the whole firefighter health, wellness, safety, helping them recover from injuries, trying to prevent, doing all of that fun stuff actually means a lot to me. So I wanted to come here so I could put all my knowledge to actually helping people instead of, feeling like the big insurance conglomerate problem. So I was really excited when Ryan brought this to me to see if we can get you guys more involved on the work comp side of the house. The unfortunate reality with a lot of these presumptive injuries, especially PTSD and work comp, is that the legislature is out changing stuff to try and get claims fast-tracked from the bureaucratic side of things, but they haven't done anything to help clinicians to understand the work comp system, to incentivize them to want to take part in a system that's kind of gross and broken sometimes. So we get into these situations where even if we get claims accepted really fast, we don't have anywhere to land their care. So like historically what's been happening, at least with us, is that a lot of these folks will end up with you guys on the EAP side of things before it gets to the point where, yes, it is PTSD, yes, I need more intensive care. The claim gets filed, it's great, they go off to the more intensive treatment programs, they get their couple weeks of really intensive PTSD care, but then they're coming back and we don't have a network of therapists that are even willing to help with ongoing aftercare sessions. So then we're back in the AP, the rates aren't super stellar for you guys, we're paying off both ends, the state and us aren't getting a true cost estimate or impact of what those PTSD claims actually mean for the district. So we're trying to bridge that gap, and I really appreciate you guys being here and being willing to even explore the topic with us. We're trying to do everything we can to make providers see that we have some wiggle room within the rigid framework of work comp to say this may be the rule at this employer, this district, or this TPA, but here's what we specifically can do. So a big part of it, kind of how I would like to open it up, is to maybe hear your perspectives on why you either haven't done workers' compensation or like what your fears would be with opening your door to treating work comp through the district. So whoever wants to start that thought process.
Subpoenas.
Oh, well, now that you mention it, yes.
Okay, so expand on that for me so I know exactly what I'm addressing.
I never thought about that, but yes.
Wow.
So thank you. Those are always so fun.
Double in the room.
So how does that work? I guess if it gets subpoenaed in treatment, and what would that look like?
Yeah, so even your records through the EAP or through personal can get subpoenaed, and that's frankly part of the investigation process for all mental health claims. The member does have to sign a medical authorization release that includes psychiatric records. Be it workers' compensation versus treatment that they saw prior to the claim being filed, it's all subject to the same subpoena process. When we're talking about if you are now treating them through the workers' compensation claim, really all that when that usually gets to that point in the theory that we're thinking is that they will have already gone through the process to get the claim accepted, and now you're just providing treatment as their therapist through the workers' compensation process. So their claim should already be in an accepted status. There's already no question about the compensability of the claim. And really at that point, and part of what we've worked through with our third-party administrator is really all we're looking for in regards to like medical notes from you guys is the patient is or isn't improving, their status is or isn't this. They're also doing these treatments. I think they might need this. We're not looking for, in the 4th grade, Tim Johnson pulled my hair and I still cry at night. Like from a perspective of we already have an accepted claim and you guys are now their therapist through the workers' compensation claim, we don't want to be in that kind of detail, and we don't need to be. We really just need to know, yes, I'm treating them, yes, they're getting better or they're not getting better. All of the people who would be seeing you in the workers' compensation arena would already have a psychologist acting as their primary treating physician as well. So you guys are really an ancillary service provider and aren't really like, you're not the guy we're going to be driving the claim based on. So it's a lot lesser role and a lot less in the weeds and those kind of details.
So it sounds like they have a team approach to it. They get psychiatry, they get psychologists,
Right.
therapists.
Right, so in
They've
work
already
comp,
done
they
all the
always have to
treatment.
have a doctor who is driving the bus and making the work statuses and the requests for treatment. So they will always have that established before they come to you guys. So it would really be, we find them a psychologist or a workers' compensation practitioner in general who's willing to continue to address their work status and to request ongoing therapy. And then we would send you guys that approval for, the 612, whatever sessions. And then you guys would be the ones providing those ancillary services. Obviously, we would want some sort of, communication between you guys and the primary, even if it's just a note that, hey, I think maybe you should explore trying, a different med. There's going to be that teamwork aspect still, but again, that's more of the ancillary role for you guys through the work comp process.
And what if they wouldn't agree if the recommendations don't match up?
That is problematic. So you guys technically can also submit requests for authorization for treatment. Obviously, you guys are more limited in like the medication arena and those fun things. But if you're like, I think they should try an alternative type of therapy. Like if the primary requested just talk therapy and you were like, no, I think they need, rapid eye movement or like whatever other things, you can submit those requests as well. And there will review and process those.
Okay. But it would never be like, yours can get dropped. Because the sessions are up kind of thing.
No, we would make sure that bridge is gapped. And our adjusters are, they're very good partners. We've switched third-party administrators last year. One of the adjusters we have on the account has been with the district almost 10 years between a couple TPAs. We have another one who's really fantastic and aggressive with staying on top of care plans. Their managed care team is great. We have a great supervisor there, and then myself and Candace both oversee claims as well. I personally oversee all the PTSD claims, and those are kept on kind of a recurring check-in system. So I would also be your contact if you're, if we get this process started and you guys agree to treat people and you're having trouble getting authorization or trouble with getting bills submitted through the correct rates, or you're worried that, the doctor is disagreeing with you and won't request this treatment, I'm also a point of contact that you can reach out directly to say, hey, something's going hinky here, like what can we do? Can we put our brains together with Intercare? Can we explore a different treater? And we can work together on those things too. It's definitely a teamwork approach. And luckily, Ryan is our PTSD work comp liaison as well, so you can pester him if you don't want to pester me. There's plenty of us to let us know if there's something going wrong. We don't want, what we see happen a lot is that, especially among our membership, right? Like they could think something's going wrong and that there's a problem, but they don't like bringing that to attention, right? So we love fixing problems. We don't want the chain to stay broken, but we can't fix the chain if we don't know it's broken. So I would rather you guys call with any question or any concern as we move through this, because you guys are going to be our test group, right? We really haven't had a lot of therapists, especially that we have a direct relationship with, who've been willing to do this. So you're kind of guinea pigs, but that's great, right? Because you can help us build it out to be really successful.
Okay. I guess my concern and my thought process behind that is if the doctor doesn't recommend any more sessions, and now I'm not just going to drop someone who needs long-term, therapy. Now, is this a pro bono case?
No.
And how many of them are going to add up if we're taking more and more workmen?
Yeah, and most of these people eventually will end up at a maximum medical improvement status in the claim, and I've never seen a PTSD claim that didn't include some sort of aftercare service. So at that point, it's really just a matter of figuring out, are you going to be able to keep requesting the sessions? Does it have to be the doctor? How far do we push this MMI report? So we would work together to find a solution if it ever hit that point.
Okay. And I'll do a pro bono now.
Yeah. No, we have plenty of ways to get you paid, even if we had to be like, God, man, Friday, call 522, like do something to cover this gap session. Like we would find a way to ensure that member could continue even if there was a hiccup in the process.
Okay.
Any other concerns or work comp myths that you guys have heard, or any reservations with work comp itself?
I mean, it's new to me, so everything is like,
Brandon.
I don't even know what to ask because it's.
No, that's great. So I'm going to give you guys this. So this is kind of our initial crack at trying to make sure you guys at least have enough information to be dangerous. So Melissa was kind enough to send us over the CPT codes that at least she sees the most commonly billed under workers' compensation claims. We wanted you guys to at least have a high level overview of what you could probably expect to see back on your fee schedule for billing. Are any of you licensed clinical social workers and not MFTs?
LPCC.
Yeah, LPCC.
LPCC. Okay. So do you have anything to write on over there, Ryan? Could you just note that for me so I can run that question by them? So these codes might differ a little. I'll run your specific titles by them, and they might want your NPIs just to confirm through their system exactly what you are, because some of the CPT codes do have different pay levels for different certification levels. This, I believe, is based on marriage and family therapists, but it's a very small subset that has a lower fee. If I run those and you guys are like, this number doesn't seem worth my time, don't like just decide to bounce. Let us know. We have some wiggle room and we can try and see if we can come up with fee agreements to make sure it's worth your time to do so. I know what your rate is through EAP, so hopefully you guys are looking at that sheet thinking, okay, not so bad, right? The next couple of pages are really the only two forms that are specific to work comp that we might need. The first one is the request for authorization form. So if you guys ever, are in a position where you feel like you need to drive the treatment bus and need to request something for the patient, that is the required form that has to go to the third-party administrator for them to review and approve medical treatment. You only have to include that and medical supporting evidence. So that is one of the times you might have to give a little more detail in your report that, hey, we've tried 6 sessions of talk therapy. I think we need to move to this other modality. I think he needs 6 sessions in this specific modality. Like, this is why, please approve. And then they would review that and either give you the authorization or denial. I will say from a district perspective, we require that our TPA let us know if any treatment requests are going to be denied so that we have the opportunity to also take a look at the claim and see if we are in agreement with that denial or if it seems like it's just some weird bureaucratic crap denial, right? We don't want weird bureaucratic crap denials to happen on any of our claims, especially when we're dealing with mental health. So if you guys are submitting those requests and you're like, why the heck did this get denied? Call me, because that would mean that we looked at it too and we're like, what is going on here? And it's probably a miscommunication, but just to give you that high level. The next form that's in there is go ahead.
So for authorizing like a different modality, is the assumption that we would start off with talk therapy?
Not necessarily. So
Okay.
It kind of depends on what the actual request was initially.
Yeah.
So it's really only a difference of like if you're going to be doing something that would require like additional billing codes, or if
Like
you were
brain
authorizing.
spotting, for example.
Right, like if
Yeah.
you normally bill extra for that, it may require, it may not. Or if you're like, okay, we started with talk, but I'm gonna bring you out with the horses and that rate's like $500 an hour for me instead of whatever, right?
Will they approve that?
Right,
Oh,
no,
okay.
but I wish. So just weird things like that. Like if you're going to be significantly deviating from a normal therapy plan and you're like, you know what? We're doing a 4-hour marathon session today. Like those are the kind of one-offs where you would want to be like, hey, is this kosher first?
Okay.
Can we provide evidence to support that the longer sessions are effective?
Yeah.
And try and fight the case, because intensives are getting more and more research-based and
Yeah.
showing that longer sessions are more therapeutic, especially in trauma world.
Right, and so from a district perspective, right, like we've had members go and do, like 3-month-long stay-ins, like in an outpatient setting, but it was a 3-month, 5-day-a-week program. So we're super open to exploring alternative stuff, especially in PTSD, because there isn't a one-stop shop. There's not a great answer for it. We know historically how PTSD has been treated probably isn't the path forward. So as long as you're not like, I'm gonna put him in a dump tank with some minnows and like that's gonna cure his PTSD, right? Like we're willing to have the conversation.
Okay. Yeah.
Would they-
Intensives are very intriguing.
Would they need to get that approved by the doc?
So that's kind of a tricky one, and that's where I want to make sure that once you guys start treating people, if you're like, I'm not sure if this is normal or if this needs something, that you have direct access to me and the adjuster as well, so that if you're ever like, do I need pre-auth for this? Like, is this deviating? We can all just even hop on a quick call and be like, hey, does she need to send this? Is she good to go? Like, where does this fall in your realm? And that's really what's been successful we've developed some new clinic relationships just within workers' compensation treatment in general. And we've made sure that those providers have a relationship with our adjusters so that if there's ever any question or anything hinky, they're not like in the dark or like, well, I hope this works. They could call and staff it through with them before anything even goes out on paper to make sure that everyone knows what the game plan is and isn't blindsided by something. So that's really where I appreciate you guys being in a sit-down situation with us so we can make sure you know me, you know Ryan, you know our adjusters, so that it's never like a shot in the dark if you guys are trying to do something. Okay. So the other form that's in there, that's the HCFA billing form. I'm assuming everyone has seen one before. If not, I threw it in there in case. That is the required billing for workers' compensation. I just wanted to make sure you guys do have a copy of it and have a chance to review it if you, for some reason, haven't seen one before. So billing and work comp does require the HCFA billing form, and you do have to submit a treatment note with it. So again, we're not expecting a 12-page summary, just a, hey, June 12th, saw him, symptoms are getting better, symptoms aren't getting better. We have 5 sessions left. Cool.
Is this on, they have a portal for it?
I'm
Or is
assuming
this our
so.
own personal?
Yeah, and unfortunately they wanted to be here today, but this was kind of a little bit of a last minute meeting and they had conflicts. But if we get down the road and you are ready to start seeing one of our work comp patients, we'll definitely get you hooked up with InterCare so that you can confirm all of the billing details and questions in advance of actually starting treatment.
And this is submitted every single time
Yes.
with a note,
With
like
a note.
progress note.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. You have to, in work comp, you have to submit medical evidence along with your bill.
Is this electronic?
I'm guessing it probably is. Yeah, I can ask them. I don't know how exactly their managed care works specifically or what interfaces are out there, but I can connect you with their managed care director on our program and she can get into the nitty-gritty with you.
That'd be great. I just know how to set up my office.
Yeah, absolutely.
What is the turnaround time from the time you get a referral to the time it kind of expected to have first session? Like, how does that?
That's really between you and the member. There's no guideline in workers' compensation on like you have to schedule it within whatever. Typically, the authorizations do have an expiration date on them, but again, there's wiggle room within that as well. So for anyone, I know you're newer to workers' compensation, you said once you submit a request for authorization form, it's up to 5 business days for them to take a look at it. So don't wait until the last second. If you're on session 6, that's not the right time to submit the request, like session 4 or 5, like where you're coming close to the end of it, just because there is potentially, if it gets submitted on a Friday, you're looking at next Friday to have the request addressed. So that's really the only time frame that's involved in work comp from that perspective.
Do they back pay?
As long as it's authorized, yes. So you
So
can
like if
submit for
we
retro.
didn't do that, I said retro.
Yeah, you
Okay.
can submit for retro.
And that would say you requested 6 more and you had 1, then it would
Right.
5 more. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
What else, guys? I feel like this was a tame group. I was expecting a lot of questions, comments, concerns.
I'm an experiential person. Let's just try it and see how it goes.
Yeah, and I love that. That's really all we can ask is that you guys just stay open-minded, and feedback is golden to us. Like everyone that we've even sent to these different PTSD treatment centers, we're like, please be as open as you can with us on what worked, what didn't, what was good, what was bad, so we know if this is a place to send someone else, if it's not. We're really trying to just make sure we have the best roster of people possible to address these when they do come up for us.
So what's like the process? Like, at what point does it go from like you guys to us?
Hi,
Sorry.
you're fine.
Alice.
Hey, Regina.
I humbly apologize. I did not expect to take an hour and a half from Auburn to get here.
Oh no,
There's a lot of
There was terrible
road
traffic on
construction
Sunrise.
and
so bad
everything.
today.
So
Well,
bad.
welcome. You missed the juice, but Brian has been recording, so I'll give you one of these guys. We just kind of finished talking through that this is obviously this is a guinea pig situation for us. We're really trying to build a robust PTSD treatment system for our members, and you guys are the first batch of therapists we've had to kind of have like a pre-talk through with about it. We talked through that I'm always the contact if you're treating a member of ours and you aren't sure if something's going right or you have questions about billing authorization, anything work comp related. Ryan is the same. He's the liaison in wellness, health, and safety for presumptive workers' compensation claims. So he and I work directly on those claims as well. And then providers that we work with, we also want them to have a direct line into our claims adjusters. So it's kind of a team effort, and we never want you guys to be like throwing a dart at something in the dark hoping it's going to work. We'd rather have like a collaborative talk about it beforehand. So the letter in front of you, Melissa had provided us a list of the most common CPT code she bills on claims, just because we want you guys to have a general overview. What is your designation? Are you a licensed clinical social worker, MFT?
LCSW.
Okay, so can you write that up? Ryan's my note taker today. He's ready. So those rates might differ a little bit for you. So we're going to have them rerun everyone's specific titles to confirm the exact rates and update this letter. But just to give you, to at least be able to get your eyes on what you could potentially expect versus what you're already potentially getting through the EAP side of the house. And then there's the 2 forms that are required and workers' compensation treatment attached. And we talked through a little bit with like treatment notes. We're not looking for like a crazy novel out of each session. What we're really going to be looking for is I'm seeing the member, they aren't approving, we're working through this. It's generally, we're still treating basically. We're not looking for crazy information in there. All right, that's the highest level overview of what you missed. What questions, comments, concerns do you have about work comp?
I think the question would have been where to bill, but it looks like it's Intercare Holdings.
Yeah, that's our third-party claims administrator. We have a really great relationship with them too, and this is all kind of a living, breathing program. So as we move through stuff, we can always revisit and see how things are working and see if we need to tweak within it. But those are the California fee schedules for those rates, so that's standard work comp billing. Do you have any concerns about work comp or like any beliefs about it or anything we can talk through, dispel?
I mean, I've worked with insurance since like 2010. Just haven't done the work comp side, although I have had people who I've worked with who've had injuries. And so I've worked with different, like sometimes there's probation and different things where I've needed to respond to, in regard to those patients that I work with. So I've done reports back to court and things like that. So
you're not used to a little bit of bureaucracy.
Yeah.
Perfect. All right, anything else, guys? Any ideas,
Like,
suggestions?
what's the process?
Oh, yes.
Like, I think, how does this all happen?
Yeah.
Between you guys and us?
No, that's awesome. So I'll actually give a really quick high-level overview of like the whole PTSD work comp process. So hopefully what's going to happen in the future is that if we have a member who feels they are at like a PTSD stage, they would be reaching out to Captain Manfredi to initiate a work comp claim. Part of what we have worked on internally in our organization is that I've trained him on how to fill out all of the necessary paperwork, including getting our adjusters those signed medical releases so we can start gathering their records and do the investigation on the claim. We do know, PTSD is a presumptive, but it's a rebuttable presumptive, which means we still have to do our due diligence in making sure that it is a valid work-related PTSD claim. Obviously the chances of it not being that in this line of work are pretty slim, but we have to do that due diligence. So Ryan will get all of that together with the members so that on day 1 of the investigation, I can send all of that over to Intercare and they can start that process of getting the medical records, finding a doctor who will assess them and write a workers' compensation report, addressing their PTSD and diagnosis, addressing any potential non-industrial factors, addressing work status, and addressing treatment needs. So where you guys would come in at that point, the member should already be through all of that process. They should have an accepted workers' compensation claim, and a doctor at some point has found either through a future medical award or through active ongoing treatment that they have a need to have therapy sessions. They would make that initial request for therapy, which Intercare would review and approve. Typically, we see 6 to 12 being the normal number of sessions that are requested by providers up front, and then that obviously is, kind of the recurring cycle of approval process. So that's where we're picturing you guys coming in, is once the claim is done, they've went to, likely a PTSD intensive treatment program, and now are back home trying to reintegrate into their normal lives and back into work, and they need that ongoing supportive care. A lot of our guys too have already seen an EAP therapist before going through the claims process, so it might even be someone you've already been working with or have previously seen. So that's our hope too, is that we can hopefully have a more seamless transition for those guys and not have to completely reinvent their therapy wheel as well. So you guys should be coming in when things are already kind of settled. They've already probably had some intensive treatment, and now they're just continuing to build on that work and to reintegrate back into their normal worlds.
So then how do we get notified or connected?
Yeah. So we will, whoever is willing to jump into this guinea pig program with us, we would have, so Ryan already has a list of the EAP providers. We would probably create a sub list in that is, our providers who are also willing to treat workers' compensation. And that's where having that relationship with you guys is huge, because then the adjuster can say, hey, you're back, you need aftercare services. If they weren't already established with a therapist who was willing to take over their claim, that's when we could say, okay, we have, if it was Carl who is willing to take over and to continue your cares. Are you willing to see, one of our preferred providers? If so, we know they accept work comp, they know our procedures. If not, it's on the member. They can still go try and find a therapist who will accept, but we would have that list for them to look at and choose from. And then once they select you guys, the adjuster would reach out and say, hey, we have approval for therapy, they'd like to see you, are you willing to accept them? And then you and the member communicate from there to schedule.
So when you say EAP, you're referring to concern?
Yeah.
Okay.
So then they come and see us, and then where do we submit the form or the notes?
Yep, so then you would fill out that HCFA billing form with your treatment note and mail that over to that address at Intercare, and then they'd send that through their bill review process and do all that stuff. If you are sending a request for authorization, I'm hoping they put their fax on that one. It's their form.
So you mail these, paper mail or email?
That's what's on there. Again, I can hook you up with Intercare directly to see if they have some sort of e-portal. I'm not positive on that, but that's the standard billing address. Emergency rooms usually send stuff there, but I'm not sure if they have an e-portal set up on their site.
And you do both forms every time?
No, the request for authorization is just if you think you need treatment that's not already approved.
Okay.
So if the authorization came over for 6 sessions and you're at session 4 and you're like, nope, you definitely need to see me 6 more times, that's when you would complete that form.
Okay, got it. And mail it in?
No, the RFAs get faxed.
Okay.
And I'm not sure if
The fax number is on the
It is?
front page, yeah.
Oh, perfect, okay. Oh, yeah, okay, they got it on there, perfect. And like I said, you guys will have direct access to the adjusters too. If we have someone that's going to you, we want you to know who your team is. So you can always call them and say, hey, I'm submitting a request. Do you want me to fax it or do you want me to email it? So a lot of these modalities are probably going to be on our adjuster pre-auth list as well. So it could be an expedited process. So it's just more for us to work out. But again, you'll have direct access to the person handling the claim on the insurance side of the house.
I guess that's my biggest thing with when you think of workman's comp is just the paperwork and insurance. It's just in general.
Totally.
It's a major turnoff. So I think making that part as seamless as possible would be.
Yeah, and we want it to be the least burdensome as possible for you guys. We have to have enough to comply with work comp law and to have it function still. But we don't want to make it to where you're I had to complete 10 forms and submit this 40-page report. Never mind, I'll stick with concern, screw work comp. So we're trying to make it easy.
Yeah, this isn't too bad at all. Just once we figure out the flow, where does
Definitely
go? And then just the note.
So we're mailing?
I'm sorry.
I know. Hey, we still use interoffice mail, orange envelopes with the cool little stringy things. So again, I will run that by Intercare. If they wanted to be here, they'd be able to answer that because I don't know their internal processes. That's not one of the TPs I worked for. But I will get you guys in touch with Nancy, who's over the managed care there, and she can help work through those
I don't even know how to send a letter from my house, other than like going to the post office. That's it. But can I actually send it from my house?
Just put a flag up on
I
your
need to get my
mailbox.
Yeah. Well, it'd be interesting if they have like a portal, a user
Yeah.
provider portal like Concern has, where
Yeah,
you've got your cases and then you can, upload the
Yeah.
documentation. I mean, this form reminds me of CPS work and
You
victims of crime, but besides that,
Right.
that's what I'm sensing from Denise is like, mail?
Like seriously?
Like,
Yeah.
really?
Stamps? Are we kidding?
Like, can't I just scan this and up?
No. Yeah,
Um,
trust me, I won't forget that question. Mail question mark exclamation point question mark. Yeah.
But with
WTF.
today's technology,
Yeah.
that makes.
No, I'm
sense
sure
sometimes,
something
yeah.
exists. I straight up don't know. What is this exactly? I've never worked there.
Melissa
so
could have
she
answered the question, right? Because she's been doing this.
I'm not sure if she's been doing it for us specifically
Okay.
or for other workers' compensation. I'm not sure.
Melissa, would
Melissa.
you know?
Fridas.
She has done workers' comp. I asked her questions and she goes, oh yeah, I love workers' comp. That's when this whole conversation
Oh,
started.
Yeah.
But I don't know if she's done it for us or not.
Okay.
Yeah, but we'll get you guys in touch with their team and they will be able to give you way cooler answers than I can on their internal process for billing stuff.
Okay. So about how many referrals are you looking at?
Not a ton. We luckily, knock on wood. I've been here 9 months now, 10 months. I lost track of time. I don't even know what year it
Still on
is.
probation.
I am a probie. Yeah, it's gross.
Dang. They're like start all over, just like when they changed.
Yeah, it's funny. My husband got promoted to engineer last July, so we are like a running joke since like 8 years that we're both probies. Like, who's gonna get up and make the coffee? Because if we're both probies, like who is it? In the 10 months, 9-10 months, whatever it is, I've been here, we've had 3 PTSD claims come in. So
it's not a huge.
not huge. We do have quite a number of future medical ones, and I suspect we probably have some guys who may be treating through Concern instead of through the appropriate work comp channels, so that might impact things down the road as well, especially as like wellness, health, and safety, and then work comp as well are going to start touring the district to kind of get in front of our members and have more in-depth conversations about stuff. So things might start inking out of the woodwork, but if we're like between the 4 of you, right, even if we're just the 4 of you, like maybe 1 or 2 referrals a year, it's not going to be like, you're not going to go from 0 to a full roster of work comp patients ever, probably. And it might be 6 months before any of you even see a work comp patient, depending on how stuff goes. But that's the other side of the coin too, is we're really working to try and, I shouldn't say we, he's the one doing the work on it, but I agree and support wholeheartedly in like taking that stigma away from it. Like, don't suffer in silence. Don't be a macho man. Like, let's get you the help before you're at a point where you're calling someone at 2 in the morning with a gun in your hand. Like, we don't want that to keep happening. So if we make any headway in that battle, it obviously could trend upwards, but yeah, maybe 6 to 10 total PTSD claims a year for the whole district.
Yeah, I've got San Diego stats. They're very progressive. They were having like 1 or 2 a year, and then their wellness kind of kicked in, and the presumptive stuff kicked in, and it went up. But maybe a dozen.
Yeah.
Was the most I saw in a year.
Yeah.
So it's not a lot. Thankfully.
Questions? Anything else?
So I know you kind of answered this earlier, but I forgot the answer.
Yes, we have to mail it.
Okay. Yes, we have to mail it.
Yeah,
but-
mail, stamps, envelopes.
So workers' comp, let's say like, okay, they say like, okay, that's it, that's all we're gonna do for you, and then for us, do we then like keep working with them? Cause like what you were saying, like not just like dropping the client,
Right.
so.
Yeah, and that's really a call for you guys to make as clinicians. If that ever does happen, which hopefully it's not, because hopefully we've been in contact way before we're at that scenario and have a team plan together. But if for some reason that doesn't happen and you get to that point, I would strongly suggest calling this guy, because he, 522 has some stuff internally, wellness, health, and safety has some stuff where if we're really at a crappy point like that, and it's like we're in a bureaucratic, stalemate where nothing can happen as much as any of us would want it to, we will find a way as a district to make sure that member is not left hanging. So again, hopefully we've had that teamwork conversation before we ever arrive there, but worst case scenario, call me ready.
Yeah, theoretically, let's say you start with comp, hopefully, and that's kind of where you go and things get stopped. You can still use concern. You've got 16 visits, hopefully more. You can do 2 rounds typically. Sometimes you get 3. And then if it gets to that point, 522 has money set aside to help pay for sessions. And so I'd love to spend that money personally. I mean, it's there. You might as well use it. I don't want cost to be a reason guys don't go get help, right? So union is very supportive in that role, and we are looking to boost Concern's contract after next year to get more visits for you guys. That's the biggest complaint we have, is you guys don't have enough visits.
Yeah.
So we're working on that stuff. But yeah, shoot me a text, or you can have the client shoot me a text, or however you guys want to do it.
And where I can see that potentially happening, which is where the waters get a little murky with PTSD, is at some point, right, like the PTSD could technically be like at a resolved status. They're no longer in a PTSD crisis, but they're still having depression or anxiety or a diagnosis that's not PTSD. And that's where kind of that wall comes up in work comp. The claims accepted for PTSD, PTSD is what we're treating. So if the PTSD is now at bay, but they're still having, generalized depression disorder or an anxiety disorder, that's not necessarily part of the PTSD claim, and that might be where it has to trigger back over into concern versus work comp.
That makes sense.
We can all be different kinds of crazy at different times, right?
No, we're all.
Oh, I see one of your ranks, so I'm full send. Full
We'll have a little.
So the program you're building,
Yeah.
What we're getting paid for is to have a list of people who have been vetted and are ready to take on workman comp
Right.
claims, so that way when they come back from that intensive treatment, you have a nice landing space.
Right.
Because historically that hasn't happened.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. You guys are there to help us carry them through, out of the crisis part of their journey into let's cope and get you back into real life and make sure you've got a place where if stuff flares up, you know where to go back to, you have coping skills, you have all those fun things. Because we've seen, we've had a very recent scenario where someone went through that really intensive process, but then once real life hits and like those aftercare sessions through the intensive have started wearing out, the edges are starting to fray a little, and then we don't really have a great place to shoot that person. So that's kind of what we're trying to address in the long term as well.
And then just to clarify, we can say no if someone reaches out, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, no,
Or
you're not
conflict
required.
or anything.
No, you are
Okay.
not required to see anyone. If you're like, yeah, nope, Alex told me about you.
You are,
No.
Yeah. No, obviously he wouldn't. But no, it's no shirt, no shoes, no service, right to refuse,
Okay.
whatever you want to do. No, you're not required to take a patient, but having the roster of you, right? It's therapists. There's sometimes where it's just not a good fit, so that's part of the picture as well. So we obviously don't want someone online just because you'll take work comp if you talk to them and you're like, yeah, my modalities aren't going to work for you, or like your thing's too complex for me, whatever the reason may be.
So let's say we're seeing someone through concern, and then it's like, oh wow, this is like PTSD.
Yep.
Should we encourage, suggest hey, maybe you should stop and do workers' comp and go that route, or just,
It's
kind of
tricky and it's gray. So
Okay.
some of the stuff that we've been talking through and what we've kind of picked up from other agencies is that, again, a lot of these come out through therapy, right? And it's not, you're having symptoms doesn't mean you have PTSD. It's kind of a developmental thing and figuring out if it is meeting those criteria. So our hope as we're moving through mental health stuff in general is that they're starting with you guys, they're having conversations about what's going on, and at some point, if it is established that, yeah, you definitely meet the diagnostic criteria, you have PTSD, you realize that that is potentially covered under workers' compensation. Have you had a conversation with peer support? Because hopefully at that point they'll call Ryan or one of his guys who will then say, cool, this is what we do from here. This is what I'm going to turn over to Angela. This is what she's going to turn over to Intercare. This is how this process is going to flow. And then things, don't necessarily have to immediately pause with you guys. Again, we don't want to leave them high and dry as we're trying to get them into like an intensive situation. But at that point, you guys will know, like, okay, well, when we get back, give me a holler, and then we can start resuming it through work comp once we have that crisis mode engaged.
That is nice about having the EAP and work comp vetted. You can do the preventative and then the aftercare.
Yeah. And that's one of the things that we heard from San Diego that's been really successful with them, is especially having their peer support and their wellness division, is that those guys are reaching out and then they're realizing, okay, well, either like, no, you don't know it's PTSD, let's get you set up with therapy, and like, let's make sure we're getting stuff addressed and figure out what's going on. And then after it's addressed as PTSD, they're able to support them moving forward as well.
Makes sense.
And if you guys have questions, you can always ask.
Yeah.
If you're only getting one client maybe a year, a lot of the stuff you probably not gonna remember.
Yeah.
I would.
No question stupid. Ryan asks a lot of them, and I
I
haven't
do.
told him he's done yet.
That's a lot of stupid questions.
I get 2 a week and I'm on my
Yeah.
That's
All right,
the
question
max.
3. What are you buying me? No, like I said, I've been in work comp 15 years, and I still ask questions daily. I still come across stuff I've never seen before in my life. So if we expected you guys to walk out of here and be like, got it, wouldn't be realistic at all.
So my understanding is these are individuals who are going to like the firefighter retreats. Yeah, get it. Okay. Like I know there's one that has the SOS for the spouses. That's
First responder wellness.
Yeah, we have quite a number of providers
And I
we use.
know
I think just since I've come on, we've used 3 different ones, and
there's
I
a
know
couple new ones as well. Yeah.
Yeah, we recently came across a roster that CAL FIRE shared that has some new places on there, and I mean, it's kind of a hot topic now, right? And I think providers are realizing that there's, I mean, let's be real, it's the American healthcare system, so there's some, money to be made in it. So providers are realizing that. And then they're also realizing that there really is this huge care gap. Like we've done this before with veterans. Like, oh, there's this huge veteran care gap. Let's fill that. And I think we're starting to ride that wave in first responder stuff as well. Like we said, like, okay, now legislature has addressed it from the legal side of the house, but now we're trying to catch up the medical side. And I think we're getting there. And you guys are on the trend, which is cool. Anything else? Brian?
My only question is, would you want to come back with Melissa so she can run through paperwork with you, or?
After hearing this, I don't know if
Okay.
if there's just like, if there's just a walkthrough, like a
Okay.
email or something like that.
Yeah, I think
Maybe
it's
we'll
like a job
see.
aid.
Yeah, if she could do like a video or a
Yeah.
tab aid or something to circulate, that'd probably be good. And then obviously if you guys get one and are like, oh crap, I still don't get it, I'm sure she wouldn't mind a phone call to walk through.
There's not a lot of psych patients in the ER.
Right.
Like patients in the ER.
I know, I was like, check the calendar and he said that it's not a full moon.
I was like,
What
full moon.
happened? I know. First thought every time.
It's always true.
Well, and like a note video would be helpful too, like what to put in that workers' comp note when we're like submitting or when.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll see what she can do. Yell at her.
The
If
HICVA,
there's like certain terminology or vocabulary to.
Yeah, I think that's what she was referring to. Obviously,
Yeah.
this isn't my world, but whenever, I'm not gonna call her today, I'll wait till next week.
I say give her some.
See what she can do. And I think worst case scenario, it's like everything, if you're in that position, you can probably call her. I'll send you her contact and she'll talk to you. She's very colorful in her language, but that's fine. Everybody's used to that. Have you met Melissa?
I have not had the pleasure, but I'm really desperate now that you've described it this way twice.
She's very colorful. But she's been doing this for the years. It was her, Joe Gustafson, and TJ Price and Kay Williams. There was just those 4. We just kept slamming them with everybody. And so she kind of burned out, which is kind of why we kept reaching out to you guys to build our roster up a little bit. So, but she's got a lot of experience.
so I was gonna say, if anybody's stressing about the HICVA form, if you have simple practice or therapy notes, you can create it in there, print it, and then just add, what's the couple of boxes that it doesn't fill in automatically. It's not that much harder to create one of these if you have an EMR.
Okay. But if they might have their own system, right?
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure. I don't know what they're.
I would be curious if this form is in there.
Yeah, that'll be a top question for them. Okay,
And if it's not, then that's.
Not mail, question mark, exclamation
Yes.
mark.
Underneath.
How can they
Underneath
not
that
mail?
Zero electronic process.
Yeah,
It'd be
right?
crazy if there was one way to send all of it.
We gotta keep the postal service in business, guys. They're a national treasure. Gotta get our
Amazon,
spam
Amazon
mail.
does.
Oh, yeah.
I don't need to do that, it's fine.
That's fun. All right, anything else? Cool, Ryan, any closing thoughts or questions or
Thank you guys for coming. I really appreciate it. It's kind of a gap that I didn't realize. Andrew kind of brought it up. So I appreciate you guys trying it out and we'll see where it goes.
Go guinea pigs, go.
What's that?
Thank you for organizing us.
Oh, sure. Yeah, my pleasure. It's easy. My office is right behind.
Oh, nice.
Cool.
I do have some questions for you.
Oh,
Probably.
If you have a
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Angela.
Of course.
Thanks, Andrea.